Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. I am Zmore, the Dan DPS, and as you can probably guess from the location that I'm currently standing in, we are once again back at the Purveyor. The good news is, this week we have the mystery Scrip event on, so we are going to get a bit more bang for our buck, and hopefully something decent, unlike the past couple of times where I feel like I want to drown myself. On that note, don't drown yourself, but yeah, it's been tough. So, before we get into the video, don't forget to leave a like, a comment, and subscribe if you want more content like this in the future. So let's get on with it. Now, for anybody that's new to this, the mystery pick is slightly different. Obviously, you have a reduced cost on the general kind of thing for 3 stars. However, you have a chance of getting ranged, melee, or armor. So, let's get on with it and see what we can rustle up. First pick. Ghoulslayer Ski Sword, not the best weapon for definite. The effects on it aren't particularly great either. Ghoul damage is okay. The reflecting melee damage is absolute garbage, and then taking 50% melee damage less with blocking. Bleh, god awful. Next up, Suppressor's Meat Hook. Suppressor's a bad effect, plus 50 limb damage, plus 1 agility. Yeah, the other 2 effects aren't too bad, but no, Suppressors makes it a kind of naff weapon. Next up, Instigating Crowlator. I mean, the other effects are okay, but Instigating on a weapon that does very low damage, but does a lot of kind of hits, yeah, not good. We are definitely not doing well so far. Next up, Zealot's 10mm pistol. Now this one technically is okay. Obviously you've got the plus 30 damage to Scorched, which, yeah, not the best effect, but you do have the 25% faster fire rate. The plus 1 perception isn't the best, but you know, it's better than nothing, and the pistol doesn't have a bad reload speed, so I don't think there's much you could get better in that slot technically. So yeah, a decent weapon, just not an all-rounder. Next up, Exterminator's Gauss Pistol. I'm certain I got another one of these last time. Exterminators is one of the worst effects because you have less utility to use it. Mirelurks are very, very limited in their exposure across the map, so not particularly great. And VAT's chance on a Gauss weapon is just not the best. Faster movement speed, yeah, it's a meh effect. So far, we are not doing well. 2-shot Pipe Pistol. Pipe weapon, not too great. Obviously you've got the 25% faster fire rate and the plus damage resistance while aiming, so if pipe weapons ever became decent, this actually would be decent, but it's not really going to be the case, is it? They're kind of low tier weapons, so I mean it's something you could always try and use, but yeah, it's not a particularly great choice. Next up, oh, first bit of armor. Auto Stim Heavy Combat Armor right leg. So the Auto Stim stuff is actually quite good on a full health build, because obviously you don't need to remember to stim pack whenever you need to. But the other kind of things, you know, plus 1 agility, stats are always a good addition, but there are better effects that could be on here, and increase the sweet spot when picking locks. I don't know, I've never really found that to be particularly useful, especially when you get perks like the Master Infiltrator in the Legendary perk part, where you just immediately open the lock. So yeah, not the best. This is definitely more likely Scrip bait than anything else. Next up, Ghoulslayer's Fire Axe. Again, it's damage to ghouls, so it has some use. The 40% swing speed definitely makes it usable, especially for a farming weapon. As I've said in multiple videos, I spend a lot of time in White Springs, so this is actually an okay weapon for me, because I spend a lot there killing stuff, getting legendaries, and just grinding levels, and sometimes events like not Holiday Scorched, what do you call them? The Mole Miner one. The Mole Miner event where you can get the boxes. Yeah, I'm sure you all know what I'm implying. Next up, why? I hate black powder pistols. Obviously, in terms of what's on there, faster fire rate on this gun isn't the best because it doesn't have ammo. 25% less VATS action point cost. I mean, I suppose that would be okay for it. And then Vampire, it doesn't have a fast fire rate, and it doesn't have a lot of ammo, so Vampire on there is pretty damn useless. Unfortunately, we are not doing well so far. Mutants again on another gun, another 10mm pistol. The effects on here are absolutely trash. Bashing damage, garbage on this weapon, and +1 perception is just meh. Next up, Furious Knuckles. That is what I feel like doing right now, punching the screen. Anyway, Furious is an okay effect, limb damage is okay, reduced weight on a weapon that is so light is just, yeah, it's not particularly, it's not a bad weapon, it's just not really that good. So, got quite a lot more to do. Poisonous Forest Scout chest piece. So, you do have the blend environment while not sneaking, not moving. 25% poison resistance, that's actually an okay effect. And then you've got the 75% chance to reduce damage by 15% while sprinting. Now, while that's not the best effect, if you've got a build where you are running up to enemies quite quickly, it does matter. So it's not a particularly bad effect, it's not the best. The better one is the same effect, but it's when standing still. That's definitely by far the better effect. It could also be on a better piece of armor, because unfortunately the scout armor, you need to buy the upgrades for it, well, the mods rather, from White Springs, and they're a bit more expensive than if you could just do it yourself. So yeah, scout armor isn't particularly great in my opinion because of that, but either way. Next up, this is decent, and it's mainly decent because it's a blooming weapon that is impossible to get with a decent effect. Obviously, it's Junkie's Plasma Cutter. I am so happy to actually get this. The second effect is bad. It's not good at all, but the 90% reduced weight is okay. The thing about melee weapons is the first two effects are the only ones that really, really matter. Obviously, with the second effect, it would be so much better if it was swing speed. If this was swing speed, this would be such a good weapon, but I'm more than happy to take it because it's so awkward to get these types of weapons in any situation. Unfortunately, this isn't on my melee character, but when the new thingamabobs come in, this could, you know, be quite fun to use. I'll definitely enjoy testing it out, that's for certain. Next up, okay, this is a decent one as well. So we have the quadruple ammo capacity, 3% VATS hit chance, and +1 agility. Obviously, the bottom effect could be better. It could be the 25% reduced VAT cost, but in terms of, because it's a quadruple ammo capacity gun, if I use this on a stealth kind of commando build, it just means that I could fire a lot of crap at the enemies. But yeah, something potentially worth testing out. I do think there is better effects it could have on there, but yeah, no, definitely okay. Next up, this one's garbage, absolute poop. Suppressors, very rare, like I say very rarely, I can't think of a good time to get a suppressor's weapon, if I'm honest, until they add some sort of incentive to play in groups and, you know, actual have like raid boss mechanics for the bigger enemies. It's never going to be worthwhile to run guns like this. Same with medics, but when they finally, if they finally do stuff like that, you never know. So let's do one more. Anti-armor cryolator. This one might be actually okay. The main reason I say that is because cryolators, from what I know, are a decent PvP weapon, and if this thing, and frost resistance is non-existent, so ignoring 50% of your target's armor, if you have, I'm assuming you have a kind of standard amount of frost resistance, if you're ignoring 50% of this thing's doing a crap load of damage, technically, and freezes the target, so Yeah, PvP this might actually be okay, but I'm not entirely certain on that. The quad variant that I've got might even be better, but yeah, no idea. So that is that for this character. I'm going to save that Scrip. I'm not going to change the title to anything less than 3,000 because technically we got more than 3,000 worth of items. But either way, let's move on to the next character. Alright, time for round 2. Hopefully we can get something interesting in this character as well, but we will see. First up, Secret Service armor, exterminators, you know, Mirelurks, not the most common enemies. The other effects are okay, but again, not the best that they could be. Let's move on. Instigating Tesla rifle. Now, instigating isn't particularly great on this weapon. I would say it is one of the worst effects that you could get on this weapon, even if you had specific damage on specific enemies. I believe that would be far more significant. Yeah, this is kind of trash, if I'm honest, and I love Tesla rifles, but instigating is just not good on this weapon at all. Next up, Assassin's Pipe Wrench. It's a pipe wrench. I mean, if you want to pretend you're in Bioshock, I suppose it's a good weapon. You can go about shouting "a man chooses," electrocute people, and then smash them in the head with this. Other than that, not a good weapon, though I might just turn it into a heart wrencher, just because. Either way, let's move on. Nocturnal robot leg, nocturnal bad. The other two effects are okay. One agility, you know, special stats are always okay, and then the food, drink, and chem weights reduced by 20% is okay, but there are perks, backpack mods that do these kind of jobs for you, so yeah, not the best. Definitely not the best. Furious Grognak Axe. Now, if this had the faster swing speed, this would be a perfect weapon, but it doesn't, and unfortunately just limb damage. Don't get me wrong, limb damage is actually okay, especially since you can injure limbs and cripple crap, so yeah. Endurance is also good for a melee build, so you know, it's an okay weapon, not the best thing I've ever pulled out of one of these boxes. Next up, I mean, this one's okay as well, I suppose. Extra damage to Scorched, the explosion damage, and +1 to Perception. Definitely like one of those weapons that you would need for a commando build, specifically if you were just hunting Scorched. If you're doing the Holiday Scorched event, I suppose this would be pretty damn good. But yeah, it just depends on the situation. I try and give a positive spin to most of the specific damage weapons, but yeah. So, Bloodied Short Double Barrel. This is a very okay weapon. Obviously it's bloodied, so it does a lot of damage, especially if you run the right build. Extra limb damage and +1 agility. It's, you know, there's better guns. It's a gun that, you know, it would sell if I put it on my vendor. I'm sure someone would buy it that's probably newer to the game, but it's not the best variant of what you can get for this either way. Next up, bolstering. So grants 35 resistance, the lower your health, radiation resistance, and the junk weight by 20%. Again, scout armor's not particularly the best. The effect on here isn't particularly great. I mean, the lower your health, having more resistance definitely helps, and the radiation resistance okay, but it's more something that I would either scrip or sell than use myself personally. Next up, this one's actually not too bad. Again, it's one of those things where the minus damage from Scorched isn't particularly relevant. The action speed refresh is definitely good, and the weapon weight reduction is very good, so the bottom two effects actually make it okay. The top effect, not so much. If I was running a full health build, it's something potentially that I could use to help me do what I need to do, especially if because I wouldn't be running unyielding on that type of build, it would, the weapon reduced weight would definitely help. Let's move on. It's got stalkers on it, it's garbage. Let's not talk about it. It's horrible. I wish that effect would go and eat a dick. Again, this is the same as the last piece of armor. Ghoul damage reduction and special stats always okay, but the weapon weight reduction is definitely where the value in this item comes in. Next up, Stalker's Gatling. It's got stalkers. Let's ignore it again. Alrighty, so again, this is one of those items that's niche okay. The 75% chance while sprinting to reduce damage by 15% is okay. Special stat of luck, okay. The top one I never really, and that's a bad effect, especially since you can get a mutation that does the exact same thing, and it doesn't just slowly regenerate health, it does it really quickly, so garbage effect, absolutely worthless. Yeah. Oh well, this character's not getting anything good by the looks of it. Well, another Hellstorm missile launcher. I mean, it's not good, but at least I'm getting one, I suppose. I'm trying to collect different variants of them all. Limb damage, not particularly great for this type of weapon, I expect. VATS action point cost, I don't think I'd be using VATS for it personally. I mean, maybe, but I definitely wouldn't. And then the damage to Scorched. Yeah, it's a Hellstorm missile launcher. I can't really say much other than that, but not a good effect on there. Alrighty, so technically this weapon is okay apart from the first effect. Not a lot of animals that I would bother using like heavy ordnance on, and the other two effects are decent but not the best, and the first one is just, yeah, very meh. Unless they add in more kind of dangerous animals into the game, it's just not really worth using. So final one for this character. Oh, this could have been such a good weapon if, well, not such a good weapon, such a good pull if that was different. I mean, there's so many effects it could have been, but yeah. We're getting a lot of the damage to Scorched or specific types of enemies on this character today. Either way, that was today's picks for that, so we'll move on to the final character. So we move on to my final character, and unfortunately the one with the least cool stuff unlocked. So we will see if we can get anything cool which I have unlocked. First up, yeah, bad. Nocturnal, faster fire rate's okay. Last effect, not particularly the best. Moving speed while aiming, never really the top pick. Next up, this one's okay. Two of the effects are decent for a melee build. 40% more power attack damage technically is okay. It's not the worst effect you can get there, for definite blocking is always that, but it's not the best weapon to be using in general for melee, unless they improve one-handed weapons in general, but I doubt that's going to be the case. It's for that specific one at least. Next up, this one's okay. Again, it's the big problem with specific damage related stuff. You can only use it in mutants really. Faster swing speed's okay, and yeah, take less damage while power attacking. Very often that's not going to be used. Next up, instigating pump action shotgun. Now for shotguns, instigating is not a bad effect. Now the bashing damage, pretty poor. The 25% less VAT action cost, I don't tend to use shotguns with VATs, but if you do and you're aiming for the head, yeah, it's actually an okay weapon. Not the best variant of it, but okay and usable, certainly for somebody that's starting out. Next up, we have the Chameleon Wood right leg. Bottom effect, very good. Extra strength, decent. Chameleon, okay. And then if you take the fact that the wood armor can be upgraded for stealth, I think this is an okay weapon for okay armor for a stealth commando build, because you never really technically get hit on that, so it's actually okay. Next up, this is bad. I do not like it. Let us ignore it exists. Exterminators, Same problem as I've always said. +1 intelligence, ammo weight reduction, those are okay, but yeah, it's a bad kind of thing. Next up, we have another wood armor with +1 strength, chameleon effect, and then less limb damage. Let's see. Next up. Yeah, this one's pretty bad. Ghoul damage, limb damage, bad weapon. Next one. Now this is technically okay, but I wish it just wasn't a Western revolver. Obviously bloodied is a very good effect, the explosive damage is very good, and if you're using your VATS critical meter filling faster, I mean this could be an okay weapon for a stealth pistol commando style type thing. I really don't know. Definitely worth keeping and definitely worth trying out in the future. Next up, same as before when I said this, you know, not particularly the best weapon. I'll maybe turn it into a heart wrencher and have a collection of them, but either way I'm never happy to see one of them. We keep getting a lot of forest scout armor tonight. So this one, definitely okay for a full health build, 25% poison damage resistance. I tend to use the perk that reinforces my limbs, so this is kind of pointless for me, but that is what it is. We'll go on to the next one. Garbage. It's an Assaultron head. Let's move on. Next up. Yeah, boxing gloves aren't the best. Assassins is definitely the best effect. Reduce weight on a light weapon like this. It's, yeah, very poor effect. It's going to get script. 2 more to go. Quad Gauss rifle. This one's actually okay. Faster reload for definite helps with this. If it's faster fire rate, I think that would have been a better choice, but no, definitely an okay weapon. Not the worst I've seen, especially if you use it with VATS. And finally, Mutant's Pickaxe. Dear God, this is awful. It's not the worst it could be, but yeah, it's not great. So yeah, that was the picks. So let's talk about some of the top picks for tonight. Now, the Quad Gauss rifle is the first one I'm going to talk about. It's got quad ammo capacity, that extra VATS hit chance, and the 15% faster reload. Now, Gauss weapons aren't particularly ones that I would recommend for VATS, but if you at least use the first shot in VATS and then just pump a load of bullets in with the rest of it, you know, there's a degree of use to it. I do like Gauss rifles. I think they do a lot of damage, and the extra reload speed with the quad ammo capacity definitely helps boost your DPS. The fire rate probably would have been better, but the fire rate in the gun isn't particularly bad anyway. So yeah, what do you guys think? That's probably something to say in the comments, whether you think this one's okay or not. Typically, again, I wouldn't use it with VATS personally, but that's maybe just me. Now this is a weapon I actually think is not too bad. Pistols in general aren't the best for obvious reasons. They just don't have the damage in comparison to other things. But you know, it's an okay little weapon to try out. I think it's definitely got a gimmicky kind of aspect to it. The biggest letdown it will have is the fact that you can't get a silencer on it, as far as I'm aware. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm almost, well actually I'm looking at the thing, it doesn't have a muzzle upgrade potential, so yeah, you can't get a silencer on it. So that reduces its potential damage in a stealth build right off the bat. But at the same time, it's, you know, definitely I think a fun weapon to use if you want to role play as a cowboy or something like that. An explosive cowboy at that. And obviously we couldn't end without mentioning the plasma cutter that I got. I tend to get junkies weapons way too often, and I get really good ones. I really need to build like a set of perks that work with a kind of junkies build. I know you don't really need to do that because technically you can get away without it, but at the same time I really need to invest some time and effort into making junkies builds. The plasma cutter are probably the best weapon I got today because they are so rare to get with a decent effect. The middle effect for reflects 50% of melee damage while blocking isn't the best if I'm honest, it's one of the worst, but at the same time, the reduced weight for the weapon means I can just carry it about without any real fear, so yeah, it's definitely the best pick of today. So that was today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to smash that like button, leave a comment on which weapons you'd like to see more of, and subscribe for more videos in the future. Now obviously today was a very mixed bag. There's quite a lot of meh weapons and a few decent ones. Nothing I would say is, you know, the be all and end all of damage, the best weapon I could possibly ever pull, but that's the kind of inevitability of it. Some of the armors were okay, definitely something I could use on some of the builds that I have, especially the full health ones, since obviously no unyielding pieces dropped. Sadly no Brotherhood pieces dropped as well. But yeah, and obviously the plasma cutter, very good weapon. I am looking very much forward to using it. It's the closest thing you can get to a lightsaber in a Fallout game without adding mods, so it'll be definitely interesting to see how the Junkie's effect and its damage in general are good or bad. I'm really not sure. I've heard good things about the plasma cutter and it's a pretty cool weapon, so we'll see how well it does in the near future. But with that, guys, I will leave you to see you next time in the Wasteland.